9 countries just agreed to stop using the US dollar for international trade. And if this plan works, every American's savings could lose value overnight. This isn't a conspiracy theory. It's already happening. Right now, more than half the world is quietly moving away from the dollar. Countries that used to depend on American currency are making deals in their own money instead. And the group leading this charge? BRICS. Brazil, Russia, India, China, South Africa. 5 countries that together represent over 40% of the global population. But here's the thing most people don't know. BRICS isn't just 5 countries anymore. In 2024, they expanded. Egypt, Ethiopia, Iran, and the United Arab Emirates just joined. That's 9 nations now, and over 40 more are interested. To understand why this matters, you need to know one thing. The US dollar has been the world's reserve currency since 1944. That means when countries trade with each other, whether it's oil from Saudi Arabia or electronics from Japan, they do it in dollars, not their own currency. Dollars. This system gave America an incredible advantage. We could print money and the world would accept it because everyone needed dollars to trade. It kept our economy strong, it kept inflation low, it gave us power. But that power came with a cost, and now countries are tired of paying it. Let me give you an example. Imagine you're Russia and you want to buy machinery from China. Normally, you'd have to convert rubles into dollars, send those dollars to China, and then China converts them into yuan. The US controls that process. American banks handle the transaction. The US government can see it, regulate it, even block it. And that's exactly what happened. When Russia invaded Ukraine, the US froze hundreds of billions of dollars in Russian assets. Overnight, Russia was cut off from the global financial system. China watched this happen. India watched. Saudi Arabia watched. And they all thought the same thing. If the US can do that to Russia, they can do it to us. Here's what most Americans don't realize. The dollar's dominance isn't backed by gold anymore. It's backed by trust. Trust that the US won't weaponize the financial system. Trust that holding dollars is safe. But over the last decade, that trust has been cracking. The US has used financial sanctions more than any country in history. We've frozen assets, blocked transactions, cut countries off from the banking system. And every time we do that, we give the rest of the world a reason to find an alternative. That alternative is what BRICS is building right now. They're creating a new financial system, one that doesn't need the dollar. In 2023, Russia and China conducted 90% of their trade in rubles and yuan, not dollars. India is buying Russian oil in rupees. Saudi Arabia, a country that has only sold oil in dollars for 50 years, is now open to selling in yuan. Brazil and China just signed a deal to trade directly in their own currencies. This isn't theoretical, it's happening in real time. So how does this actually threaten the dollar? Let me break it down. When the world uses dollars for trade, there's constant demand for our currency. That demand keeps the dollar strong. It keeps interest rates low. It allows the US government to borrow trillions of dollars without causing inflation. But if countries stop using the dollar, that demand disappears. Less demand means the dollar loses value. A weaker dollar means everything America imports, cars, electronics, clothing, food, gets more expensive. It means inflation rises. It means your paycheck buys less. It means savings lose purchasing power. Now here's the scary part. The US national debt is over $34 trillion. We pay interest on that debt. And right now, because the dollar is strong and trusted, we pay relatively low interest. But if the world stops trusting the dollar, interest rates go up. That means the government has to spend more money just to pay interest, which means higher taxes or cuts to programs like Social Security and Medicare. Or worse, the government prints more money to cover the debt, which causes even more inflation. It's a vicious cycle. And BRICS knows this. They're not trying to destroy the US economy overnight. They're playing the long game. Every trade agreement that bypasses the dollar is a small crack in the foundation. Right now, it's manageable, but if those cracks spread, the entire system could collapse. And there's another layer to this. BRICS is reportedly working on a new currency, a shared currency backed by a basket of commodities, gold, oil, rare earth metals. If that currency launches and gains traction, it could rival the dollar as a global reserve currency. Imagine a world where half the planet trades in BRICS currency and half in dollars. The US would lose its financial superpower status. Our ability to influence global events would shrink. Our economy would have to stand on its own without the privilege of printing the world's money. Now, let's bring this home. What does this mean for you? If you're an average American, you might think global currency battles don't affect your daily life, but they do. Think about your savings, your retirement account, your 401k. All of that is denominated in dollars. If the dollar loses value, so does your wealth. The money you've worked your whole life to save could buy half as much in 10 years. Think about prices. A weaker dollar means higher costs for gas, groceries, electronics, medicine. Think about jobs. American companies rely on access to global markets. If the world moves away from the dollar, our businesses lose their competitive edge. Factories close, jobs disappear. This isn't fear-mongering. This is what happens when reserve currencies collapse. It happened to the British pound in the 1900s. Britain went from the world's superpower to a secondary economy in just a few decades. And the same thing could happen to the United States. The difference is, most Brits didn't see it coming until it was too late. We still have time, but that window is closing. Here's the really big picture. This isn't just about economics, it's about power. For the last 80 years, the US has shaped the global order. We decided who gets access to the global economy and who doesn't. We funded allies, sanctioned enemies, controlled the flow of money across borders. That power came from the dollar. But now, the rest of the world wants a say. BRICS is representing a shift in global power, from the West to the East, from the US and Europe to Asia, Africa, and South America. China's economy is already the largest in the world by some measures. India is the most populous country on Earth. Russia has the natural resources. Brazil has agriculture. The Middle East has energy. Together, they don't need the United States the way they used to. And that terrifies Washington. Because if the dollar falls, so does American influence. We can't freeze assets anymore. We can't sanction our way out of conflicts. We can't print money without consequences. We become just another country, not a superpower, not the global leader, just another player at the table. And for Americans who've grown up in a world where the US was always on top, that's a hard pill to swallow. So here's the bottom line. BRICS isn't destroying the dollar overnight, but they're building an alternative, slowly, strategically, deliberately. And every day that passes, more countries join them. The question isn't whether de-dollarization is happening, it is. The question is how fast it happens and whether America can adapt in time. Because if we don't, we won't just lose our currency dominance, we'll lose our place in the world. And once that's gone, there's no getting it back. The empire built on the dollar is starting to crack, and the rest of the world is watching to see if it falls.